Dear Roger. Michelle writing. I hope you are doing well. What are you up to these days? It has been quite long since we have met, and since our summer vacations have just started, I have planned a small tour on Vietnam. Next week, I will be leaving New York and will catch up with you in Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. After staying there for one night, we will continue with our tour, and our first stop will be Cantho for floating market and boat tours. After that, we will journey towards the northwest of Ho Chi Minh City for Cu Chi Tunnels tours. We will also be visiting Can Zer Mangrove Forest and many more exciting places. I know you are a huge fan of nature, so this fun-filled trip will provide you with a huge dose of the outdoors. You do not have to worry about anything since I have the accommodation, meals, and transportation all planned. I hope you will soon reply to my letter and join me on this trip. Best regards. Michelle Nguyen. Ho Chi Minh City. +84983838622.
The Mekong Delta, Nine Dragon River Delta, also known as the Western Region or Southwestern Region, is the region in southwestern Vietnam where the Mekong River approaches and empties into the sea through a network of distributaries. The Mekong Delta region encompasses a large portion of southwestern Vietnam of over 40,500 square kilometers, 15,600 square miles. The size of the area covered by water depends on the season. Its wet coastal geography makes it an important source of agriculture and aquaculture for the country.
The delta has been occupied as early as the 4th century BC. As a product of Khmer, Vietnamese, Chinese, and French settlement in the region, the delta and its waterways have numerous names.
The Mekong Delta has been dubbed a biological treasure trove. Over 1,000 animal species were recorded between 1997 and 2007, and new species of plants, fish, lizards, and mammals have been discovered in previously unexplored areas, including the Laotian rock rat, thought to be extinct.
A floating market is a market where goods are sold from boats. Originating in times and places where water transport played an important role in daily life, most floating markets operating today mainly serve as tourist attractions. However, Cai Rang Floating Market is not only the tourist magnet but also the regional commercial hub for seasonal tropical fruits and foodstuffs.
History. Historically, the areas adjacent to the rivers were the first to be populated. Thus, most communities in Vietnam were built at the sides of rivers. The waterways served as means of transportation and the center of economic activity as well. Boats were mainly used for local and regional trade, bringing goods from those that produced to those that could barter in trade. Such ways of life of the riverside communities increased the number of floating markets. Floating markets became the hubs of the communities for centuries. This kind of market was still lively with the crowds. Nonetheless, soon after the region grew and Cantho began to develop, road and highway networks were increasingly constructed in place of the canals. This resulted in people choosing to travel by land instead of by water. Therefore, some of the floating markets were forced to move onto land. Some were renovated, and some were closed down.
The floating markets are a collection of vendors selling various produce and product on boats. Floating markets initially are not created as tourist attractions, but as necessities in cities that have large river, especially in several cities and towns. Floating markets have existed in Vietnam for many generations. Archaeologists have found evidence that extensive trading networks likely existed in Vietnam's river deltas from as far back as 4,500 years ago.
Produce and fruit. Ideally, the floating market's produce and fruit are normally grown from nearby gardens or local orchards. Such produce comprises assorted tropical fruits and vegetables, such as guava, banana, jackfruit, rambutan, mango, pineapple, dragon fruit, carambola, fresh coconut, and durian.
Dishes. Local dishes are cooked and prepared by the vendors from their floating kitchens located on their boats. They offer various kinds of food ranging from Vietnam's traditional noodle soups, banh mi to vegetarian dishes such as rice vermicelli. Boat noodles and traditional drinks such as coffee with milk and coconut water are also available for tasting.
Products. Hundreds of locally produced goods are available for purchase. Bargaining is common.
Culture. Life in the Mekong Delta revolves much around the river, and many of the villages are often accessible by rivers and canals rather than by road. The region is home to Kai Leung, a form of Kin/Vietnamese folk opera. Kai Leung singing appeared in Mekong Delta in the early 20th century. Kai Leung singing is often performed in the soundtrack of guitar and zither. Kai Leung is a kind of play telling a story. A sort of play often includes two main parts, the dialogue part and the singing part, to express their thoughts and emotions.
Cuisine. The Mekong Delta cuisine relies heavily on fresh products, which is abundant in the new land, with heavy use of seafoods and unique ingredients of the region such as palm sugar, basa fish, and wild herbs and flowers such as daim, sodua, kioneo. The history of the region being a newly settled area reflects on its cuisine, with settlers' cuisine means dishes are prepared fresh from wild and newly caught ingredients. The cuisine is also influenced by Khmer, Cham, and Chinese settlers. This differs itself from the cuisine of other regions of Vietnam.